All right, so I'm calling the meeting to order for October 17th for the Morrison House meeting committee to save the house. So let's stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Frank.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so the first item on our old business is a debrief because at our last meeting, we did not get a debrief of what occurred. And so Dave, I'd like, you were involved in that, so if you could please give us a debrief on, you know, what transpired and.
Sure. So, yeah, myself and Derek and Tracy, and I apologize, I don't remember her assistant's name, but we went around, toured the facility, basically from underneath, the exterior, the interior, the attic space, second floor, and let her, you know, make her general observations, and things that she looked at. She immediately got the sense of, like all of us have when you walk through the building, of excitement that this is a great project, that the facility overall, while might have some concerns, the building in general observation looks sound. You know, there are some concerns about electrical, so the obvious things that jump out at you about that. ADA compliance stuff is an obvious. The conditions underneath the building or in the walls remains to be seen. There was one thing that she noted in the attic with that style of timber framing, that there's like a cable, and I had not observed this or whatnot, but there's points on that where they cable off from one end of the barn to the other, and it looks like at some point that cable was either removed or wasn't connected anymore or whatnot. It didn't show any concerns in the building, but it was just some of the ways that they affixed that type of cable that she noticed, and that showed her experience there of kind of looking at structures of this age and whatnot that perhaps somebody else would not have picked up on. So that was an interesting thing, but otherwise she, you know, loved the beams and looking at the structure and whatnot. And, you know, generally, again, she just thought that the building looks sound. It's not, you know, dilapidated, and there's the smell of mold and things of that nature that when you get into some of these older historic properties, you can kind of sometimes come across that stuff. You know, there's some visible rot on the north side where some of the aluminum cladding came off on some of the windows, and so, but that's, you know, pretty typical for what you're going to see with a building that you know, has basically been encapsulated with you know, with vinyl and some aluminum and whatnot. But, you know, it remains to be seen what we'll find when we really get into it and to what degree. Our concerns were similar as mine when we got to kind of this stage with Weston and Sampson, before we really start getting into, you know, ripping up floors or taking out parts of the wall or pulling siding off, or really getting up close and personal with the building, is, you know, what you'll find. And bear in mind, you may not find everything, because, you know, a building of this nature, you may observe a bulge in a wall and think that's a concern, so you're going to obviously take apart that area of the wall, only to find that it's just a bowed stud. Not a big deal, right? But 15 feet down the wall, you may not go into that area because it looks fine, but when you get into the renovation portion of it and you tear stuff out, you may find something in there that is rotted or needs to be tended to. It might be a little bit more serious than just a bowed, you know, piece of timber or 2x4. So, you know, contingencies when you're setting up your plan, it should be more than the norm of like a new construction. It's important that as you develop a budget, you know, for this project, that you leave a lot of contingencies in there for things that may come up, as you proceed with the whole process. Because you're truly not gonna know, every stitch of a floor until you rip up all the tile and what have you. And then there's the why, why are we doing it? And when I was going through this kind of blindly with Weston and Sampson, that was hard trying to communicate to them when they were drawing conceptuals and whatnot, because we didn't really have an answer to that yet. I still don't know that we have a solidified answer to that yet, but, so when you're trying to tell somebody to come up with conceptual or whatnot, what are you gonna use the building for, and you don't really have a solid answer for that, it's tough for an engineer to kind of use their imagination as to what it may be, so I think when she does her report too, she's probably gonna need some good guidance from the committee on that, on what your thoughts are, for how defined of a kitchen you're gonna want, or if at all, or really understand the occupancy, and, to that end, that will kind of determine what goes into her report for what her recommendations are for what you need to do. So those things gotta be really well thought out for her to have a really comprehensive report for you to kind of pour over. And that was basically about it. She, then kind of came to you as a whole group, I know all of you weren't there, but, and basically said similarly the same
Give
things,
us a
so,
little quick summary.
yeah.
Now, is she going to actually send us something in writing, like a little bit her thoughts, Kathy, or
I have no
Dave?
idea,
I thought that's how
Kirsten
she
is,
left it.
Kirsten
Yeah.
is involved. It's in their hands now, it's not
Yeah.
ours.
So what we requested is that she sends us a scope of work of description as to what she's gonna wanna do and what the cost will be for that. So, and she basically is going to put down in writing, based upon her general observances of the building and what she saw that day, the things that she's gonna wanna, get up close and personal with and explore into. So she'll have all that laid out in her scope of work, and she's checked in with her today, and she said by midweek she'll probably have that back to us. So that's when you'll know, is it $8,000, $15,000, $30,000? The next phase, when we were Weston and Sampson, again, this is year-old numbers now, but we were looking at 16.5. I believe in the packet that I gave you, it was in there too. That was for the structural analysis, and then, but also a hazmat assessment too. I think that's gonna be the committee's next logical step too, is the hazmat. Unless if we talked a little bit about that, so I don't know if she'll put that in there too, if she can do that, or maybe has a sub that can do it or whatnot. I looked over some of the projects that she's worked on, and I didn't see anything in there about hazmat assessment and stuff, so, but perhaps it's something that she does do. But she's aware that a building of that age obviously is gonna have materials in it, she knows that. Some of them were, observed knowing, you have, bat feces in the attic and things like that, and there's asbestos tiles in the cabinet there, so.
There are definitely asbestos
Yeah.
in there.
Well, in the cabinet, in the mechanical room, there's already a stack of asbestos tiles that are there. There's a good couple dozen of them, so one would assume they must be in the building somewhere.
Or they're all that's left that
Right.
has been
It-
taken
it-
out illegally.
Yeah,
and,
or it
like,
could just be
30
that, maybe
years.
somebody had a box of them at home and brought them there and was gonna do the project, but then
Never
they never
did.
came to it.
Right.
So who knows, but, you make some general assumptions from some of the observations that you make. But until we really start pulling apart portions of the building, it's hard to really know factually, so.
Any questions?
Yes.
Okay, Ray, but you cannot dominate the meeting. Everybody gets a chance to talk.
No, that's fine, that's fine. We mentioned hazmat, which is really important. That has to be addressed, okay? But the fact that there is some tiles there, those are, depending on how many there are they're on the floor, whatever. If they're just some in the corner, the thing with asbestos, if it's airborne and you breathe it,
Yeah, that's.
it's gonna kill you, okay? If it's capsulated in a tile,
It's fine.
it's not going to get out, it needs to be removed, okay? So I think we need perhaps the opinion of a hazmat person to come in and determine whether there is other things like insulation in the building that has hazardous material in it.
That will have to happen regardless of what we do.
Right.
If the building stays, we're gonna have to do it. If the building goes, we're gonna have to do it. That's law, so, due to the age of the building. So, at some point, inevitably, we're gonna need to do that.
Yes.
But I think the structural analysis right now is important to know, because that also kinda will steer you about what we're gonna do and what path we're going down, as well.
Thank you, thank you.
Two questions. So, follow up on that is, to me, it sounds like, this is what Wes and Sampson were thinking, but it sounds to me like it would make sense to kind of do those at the same time. I mean, if you're cutting holes in a wall, cutting holes in floor, you're gonna capture some of
Correct.
that.
You're gonna expose that.
Yeah, and that's, in the proposal that I had that we stopped on, they were gonna do it at the same time.
Yeah.
But it can be done at any time.
Yeah, and then my other question was, I guess, more like an FYI thing, but this whole cable thing up in the attic
Mhm.
space, are we talking like tension cables, like the
Yeah, she
kind of
explained it
picture-
as though, the not post and beam, but the the type of timber framing that's there. It's great vertically, but sometimes there's nothing to keep it,
Yeah.
from horizontally bowing out or
Mhm.
spreading. And so they used to do like some cables,
Mhm.
from different points. And she noticed a couple of, holes or lag points on the
Where they would've been.
beams that I just thought, well, maybe that's where, there was somebody didn't put in a peg or something like that. But that was actually, points that she observed that where the cable would have been.
Mhm.
So.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And to me, that's like what I've seen of the ceilings is pretty cool. Like, so
It is
at some
pretty
point, if
cool,
we're gonna
yeah.
expose that, then
Yeah,
even if you don't need
I-
those tension cables, like stick them in there, just
Yeah, well,
like,
so the
just for
ceiling,
the look.
yeah, so the ceiling above the suspended ceiling in the hall, even though it doesn't look like a suspended ceiling like this is, it is. And I showed her the video that I did, that I kinda got up in there between that void.
It's like a tin roof kind of.
And it's a
thing, right?
curved, tin
Yeah.
roof, and it's.
So is the entire area where the wood floor is that all tin?
All that ceiling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you give details on what she said that value was to us?
Well, she didn't say, a value, but she just said that it looked like it was in great condition, which it is. The video shows.
I thought she kinda said we could get grants because we were preserving it.
So the way grants will work in these types of projects with L-chip, although they're slow to get, they would, sometimes go towards that stuff. New outlets or wiring, stuff like that, those grants are typically, even ADA, sometimes you can get for ADA, but the restoration stuff, from like, New Hampshire Preservation or L-chip stuff, that is the type of stuff that would go to. She loved the vault, so that's the type of stuff it would go to. In the mechanical room where you can see the tin
Yeah.
ceiling that was painted, that could be restored. The original flooring is there, the original wainscoting is there, so she can see that stuff and touch it, and so that stuff is really where a lot of your L-chip stuff money would go to.
Yeah.
Now, that's the feel-good stuff, that's not the money that you need to spend on the important stuff, like the life safety stuff that you have to do,
Yeah, but I
there's-
thought Kirsten was already researching that and said we could get a lot of grants in the ADA area, and that because we would go to, heating and cooling elements that are more modern, and there's
Correct.
grants out there. And she said we would do better in those grants than we would do in the preservation grants. And correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, it's because the preservation grants are gonna need to know, again, we're a little bit behind the ball on, is it a historical site or not? So in order to
Well,
kinda.
I don't know, it's probably pretty, I mean,
Yeah.
the only thing that's unhistoric about it is it was moved.
Yeah.
But it's been there quite some time.
Yeah,
But the actual designation.
correct.
of it.
Yeah, but we don't wanna go, do we wanna designate it? Do we wanna go through all the hassle of and that's not our decision, we're not
And
here
and
for that.
the energy grants and stuff like that, you're correct, like to go from the type of lighting that we have into LED, yeah, there's money there, but we're not, when you're talking about a $50,000 light upgrade, you might get 5 or 10,000, or, the estimates for the HVAC is like 360,000, well, you might get 25,000 going over to energy efficiency stuff. So there are grants like that, and every dollar is gonna matter in this type of a project anyway. So, no stone should be left unturned, there's no doubt about that.
So that's a clear number, that's a valid, clear, stick-to number, 360,000 to
No,
get the
that's,
fee?
that was one estimate of when we were putting together numbers on, again, on moving the mechanical room to the back, so.
Yeah.
that's
So,
a whole
so,
different-
so we really don't have solid numbers?
No,
No.
not yet.
No.
Well, I don't think we have a solid idea as to what we want the building to look like yet either.
Yeah.
So,
But I
it's hard to
don't
have.
necessarily think that we haven't discussed what we want the building to look like, we kinda wanna keep it where it is.
Right, exactly, so that all depends on, again, you wanna know where your finish line is.
I know you want the addition,
Be-
but that's
No,
comes in another phase.
No, I'm not even talking about that, I'm talking about, I thought, you know, 'cause keeping it like it is means you can't see that ceiling, you've got vinyl siding
No,
covering the
no,
platform.
we mean keep it like it is in the sense of what it was.
What it was, okay, that's different, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
And then we bring in the kitchens and all that other stuff.
No, I just want to clarify that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a phase, those are the phases.
Yeah, that's what I think you have to keep in mind, the phasing.
I think we have to keep in mind that we have a balance point between an old historic building, that we want to retain some of the character of it, okay? And then we have the fact that we want to upgrade it so that it's ADA compliant and so forth, and so it's a usable building. So, you know, and those costs, those monies, you know, we kind of got to separate them a bit, you know what I mean? You know, if you're gonna get LCHIP money, you know, maybe that's, would be from historic things. If you're gonna get American Rescue League money, that might be for a heating system or something like that, or lighting and so forth. So, you know, potentially we got different areas where we could potentially get some grant money from.
So, I guess I'm asking all of you guys because of what David just said. And we can't, it sounds like we have another roadblock, which is common with old buildings, cause they are money pits, but they're lovable money pits. The roadblock now to you is, what do we want to do with it? So,
That's been the question all along.
I asked this committee right now to go into discussion and, I'm not gonna say, I'm gonna wait till the end, but what do you wanna do with it?
I mean, in phase one, I think I'm thinking of the phase 1A that we talked about, which is just the function space,
The
not the full
99.
kitchen.
Can I just ask a clarification to your question, 'cause maybe the way he's answering is not what I think you're trying to ask, and I don't wanna put words in your mouth. But when people approach me, so the money we've already spent, when we did just an analysis, and then we did, conceptual design. We pulled up anchor, and we stopped at that point, because the questions that were out in the community well, what are we doing with this building? Why are we spending this money on this building? So we had the town meeting style on a Saturday. And at least from that meeting, it was pretty obvious that, at least the people that were there that day and some of the questionnaires that were filled out online, is that there seems to be some genuine affection for the building, and the town people want to keep it.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing, especially I think everybody in this room wants to hear that, because that's why we're here.
Right.
But as I live in the community and I'm in town, or I'm at certain organizations, or I'm in this building, or I run into people at the cemetery or down the common when I'm working, a lot of times the questions that, again, they still ask me is well, why are we doing this? Like, what are you gonna do in the building? And I don't have the answer to that question. It's not my position to really give it anyway, but, and I'll try to kind of softball it and like, well, there's a lot of things that can be done, and there's it's not hard to explain why we love the
The
building,
value.
but it's hard to explain why are we gonna continue to do with the building the way that it's been kind of been used. And I think that public service announcement, if you will, or that message really needs this, we need a PR campaign to get rolling on it, because if you can ask people for money, then they're gonna start asking the whys and the whats. And so, to your point, I think That's what you're asking, no?
No.
Or were you asking what phase do you want?
Wait, can you answer?
I'm asking what, as a committee, do we want for that building? Because the PR and all of that stuff comes in after we find out the numbers. We can't begin a PR campaign until we know the numbers. Now, it'll be an easy PR campaign, because if it is an original tin ceiling, and if it is all of what is being said, then I think it's an easy sale for history. An easy sale for the fact that it was always a community center. An easy sale that it was always used as a place for people to meet. An easy sale that it was a wedding venue. An easy sale that it was very much part of this community for over 100 years. I think that's an easy sale. But you stated, and that's why I'm asking the question, that without us giving her, Tracy, an idea of what we're looking for, she can't really give us a quote. And everything is hinging on these people that, I don't know how many people come in, 3 or 4. Everything is hinging on us telling them what is exactly what we're expecting out of the first phase and phases beyond. And we need, from what you're saying, we need to give that information. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for it to be a Lions Hall again. I'm not looking for it to be a wedding venue again. I'm looking for it to be structurally sound and preserved enough that we qualify for historic restoration, and we keep the building as sound as we can to that history. And then say, once we get to this point, here's what we're gonna open it up for. Does anyone disagree with me?
I agree with what you're saying.
Absolutely
Yeah.
agree with that.
Okay, so that was kind of where my question was going, to give you the information, to give the contractors that, go. What are you looking for?
I still can't follow your line of thinking.
Yeah,
I really
Okay, so
can't.
you-
Because that's not what I stated either, so
Well,
I.
No, I
She
think.
can give us a quote, but.
You said we gotta come up with a reasoning for the building in
Well-
order to get a quote. I'm not talking about phases. Doug, what do you want? What do you want for that building? Right now, at this moment, do you want it torn down, do you want it saved? What do you think we need to do to get it started? I guess that's the easy way.
No, I don't want it torn down, but there's way too many answers to those questions. The
Okay,
questions
so
you're
then-
asking are cosmic.
Okay, so then that brings,
Like-
right, so that brings the dilemma right back to what David's saying is, obviously, we don't even know what we want.
Well, I think what I
What you
want
just
for it
said.
is to be a community center again, where people could go with small groups, they could sign up, they could rent it, maybe there's a nominal fee. And I keep thinking of that, the quest they gave us was 100 and under, like to kind of get to that, being able to have 100-ish or less people. I'm picturing smaller groups initially, and what my hope for Tracy is that based on what's there, what would it take to get it so that it's simply sound?
Yeah.
So that we could open it up and people could go in, and maybe it's a Boy Scout troop again, maybe it's a karate group, maybe it's a yoga area. I'm thinking of East Derry, and they have the church, but they also have a beautiful meeting house on the left side. And I think I want Tracy to say, at the bare minimum, for security, for preservation, what do we have to do so we can open those doors again? And I would like to see our Lions meet there again, because I think that's part of our history, that they have a spot.
I mean, we can come up with numerous ideas.
Yeah.
Sherry hit one. Go ahead, Dave. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I'm with you two. I think there is a certain amount of work that absolutely must be done,
Necessity.
even if nobody went in there, if
Right.
you're gonna keep it upright.
Right, yep, I like
That
that.
things like
The
And that's
fixing the
kind of where
floor
we wanted to
and stuff
start.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Now,
Right?
I
after that, for me, I think the most obvious type of use beyond that would be something, whatever was akin to what the Lions Club used to use it
Yeah,
for.
yeah.
If they brought in people for this sort of event, then that's the kind of thing you could do.
Yeah, because I think that had
Now,
a charm to
beyond
it.
that, there are other phases. You've suggested some things that you'd like to see beyond that in the past, not now, but.
Yeah, and I kind of agree, I'd like to see it opened up as, I guess, I'm looking for her direction and her phase is to get it open, that even if it's not a functioning building for weddings or a functioning building for, events in it, it can handle a one-day event, like a craft fair.
Mhm.
Like somebody come in and teach
What would be the
canning.
difference?
Yeah.
If it can handle that, then it can handle a wedding, it can handle.
Yeah, I
Well,
was just gonna
well-
say,
No, a wedding's different, we got
There are countless
alcohol.
things like that,
Yeah.
well, I don't think it does us any,
I'm
we
not
don't need to enumerate every possibility.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
impression of Tracy when she left, and she just kind of gave like a little discussion, it wasn't lengthy, but I really felt from her that her goal was to give us the minimum that,
Yeah.
like, I felt she really understood, we wanna open the doors, we want that building to be functional again, even if
Yeah.
it's just a few people, but if people wanted to go in and experience the
Yeah.
beauty inside. But I didn't think she was gonna go way to the extreme, I think she was very impressed with it, and I really think she's gonna come back to us with the minimum that we need to do for phase one,
Right.
and then down the road, maybe it's another
Yeah,
that,
look
because.
at
that-
other stuff later. I mean,
Right, and that was
Yeah.
what
You
I
need to
thought
be
the
able to
whole
let a
goal
dozen
was.
people in there for
was
a
that
meeting or a
her
gathering
contract
without
was
being
phases.
sued.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. And
I
then
mean,
it-
there's so many, I mean, so we don't have a kitchen right away, and you only can get it for 2 hours,
Yeah.
because then it won't put a strain on the bathrooms, or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
I mean, we're looking for the
Yeah.
simplest way to get those
to just
doors,
kinda get it going.
get those back open.
Right.
And then we
Yeah.
can go after the electricity, then we can go
Well,
after
I'm
the
gonna
ADA.
push back on that, actually. Because if you just go with the simplest, then it's crappy.
But not
But how do you
simple,
know that?
but not
Because we're gonna have
simple
to do
is-
Because
that
it's crappy
anyway.
right now. I mean, if you're gonna do it, and this is some of what Dave talked about several meetings ago, then at least make it good.
Okay, so
But I
what would
think
you
she's
say,
going- I think
yeah,
she's
but
gonna
what
make it
would you say is
beautiful.
crappy about it?
The bathrooms.
No.
But,
Well, the
but
men's
if,
room.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, you can't, like, that's not, I know you guys have said that they're functional and whatever, but I'm sorry, that's
But that's
not the way you
phased.
present
Yeah, I do see that as
a
phases.
building that's a jewel
Yeah.
of the town, you know, to have
But
something
see,
like
she
that.
said ultimately, remember in the
well,
parking lot,
let's say
10
the jewel of
years?
the town had only a 2-holer when it first got put there. So it was still a jewel of a town with a 2-holer in the back room. So I don't think the bathrooms really are the big priority here.
I'm
big
not
priority is-
interested in doing it if it's gonna be just the bare minimum.
But I
But
don't,
that's
but-
not
Again,
what
I
we're
can't-
asking.
But that's
We're
what you're
asking,
saying.
no, we're
Not the
not,
bare
I'm
minimum
saying
as
the
it
bare
should
minimum
be.
is phase one.
making
Yeah.
it beautiful to what it was.
Phase two might
I
go to
don't-
the bathrooms in the kitchen.
There's no guarantee you're gonna get phase two.
There's no guarantee we're
Oh,
gonna
I
get
think
phase
so,
one.
I think so.
I think John Farrell made a point that the way you get things going in this town is a little bit this year and a
Yeah,
little bit
that's
next
kinda,
year.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
you gotta keep it,
And then the goal is the
you gotta
beauty
constrain the
of it.
initial.
There is
Yeah.
there is no way I can personally sell what you want to this community.
I don't
Which is
think you
sense
understand
of-
what I'm saying.
No, I understand what you're saying.
No, you don't.
Yeah, there's no way we can sell that massive of a renovation. We're gonna have to do it
I
in
can't
phases.
sell what you're
phases,
talking
though.
about.
Excuse me, can
At
we,
least the building's.
can we get on to ask their opinions?
Yeah, I, actually, if you stop and look at what I think everybody is saying, is we need to open the doors. The town needs money to pay the electric and the heat
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. So, we have to look, I think we have to look at these 99 people. I don't care if it's a wedding.
They can't jump on the floor though.
They can't.
They're not supposed to.
We're gonna fix the floor.
You know,
You can't do anything till you fix the floor.
but I think that we need to open the damn doors. That's what it's all about. If we need to get into the ladies' bathroom and change a couple of stools and put up a different
I think we could find
thing
volunteers
in
to do
between,
that.
we can
And
do that.
David said that's minimal work, that's
These-
not
I mean,
just.
all I'm
minimal.
saying is, we're talking bare minimum is $1 million.
No, I don't think so,
I don't
unless,
think so.
I don't think so unless
think
we
so, no.
find,
No.
David, do you think there's that much structural damage?
Structural, meaning the foundation and walls and things of that nature?
Foundation, walls,
I
and
think there's gonna
floor.
be some things that they're gonna find of concern,
Right,
but I
'cause-
don't think there's anything major to the point where we need to raise the whole building up and
Right.
pour a foundation
Foundation.
and, no, I don't, from every engineer that I've had out there, to include these
Yeah.
two, the other day, no one seems to see that kind of catastrophic, like, you don't see a sagging ridge line.
Right, right,
You don't see
Right,
extensive
right.
bows in the
Positive,
walls.
yeah.
You
Right.
don't see
there's no
a
cracks in
whole
the
lot of
walls.
rot.
Right, right.
The floors are having problems,
Yeah,
but,
there's, it's normal, or even I would say better than normal, kind of, wear and tear on it for a building of its,
There you
of its
go,
age.
right,
But I
yeah.
don't see anything that's gonna be like, oh, we gotta put $1 million towards it, just making it a sound
So we can
structure.
open the doors.
I
right.
really, for me, and I'm gonna touch on another note, I don't mean to go off on a different tangent, but for me and other members that I work with, a lot of this stuff is the life safety stuff. There's a lot of concerns about the electrical work in that building that are just blatantly I mean,
Yeah. you
when we
walk in
turn
and
on
you
the-
got hanging wire.
Sherry, when I kinda had fun with you about turning the light on, and I swung over the light switch, you turn it on with a knockout out of it, and, and then you open up the door to look underneath, and there's wiring there, and we don't really know how the there's been
Yeah.
some creative wiring, so a lot of that stuff has gotta get addressed. Not hundreds
Yeah.
of thousands of dollars, but
No,
there's
no.
there's potentially tens of
Yeah.
thousands of dollars.
and that could be considered in our phase one to get the
Yeah.
stability of
It-
fire,
Electric.
fire, electric, and the structural done, and that's why I'm saying,
Yes,
it's a real, I want that
Yeah.
detailed of direction to
Yeah.
Tracy, because we're not gonna get $1 million on our
Yeah.
first ask.
for me,
Maybe on
everything,
future ones.
for me,
Right,
everything
but we might be
that.
able to do it over 5 years,
Yeah.
and that's the plan.
In my career, the very first thing that, before I approach any project, is we're gonna address the safety issues. Forget about everything else. I really don't, not to sound disingenuous, but don't care about the ceiling, the vault, I wanna know that when there's people in that building, whether it's a child or an elderly person, that they get in and out safe, there's no tripping hazards, they're not gonna turn on a light, there's not gonna be a fire. If there is some smoke or something like that, there's gonna be a system that alerts the fire department to get there. There's, the parking lot out front is always been a concern of mine. I myself have almost been clipped, cars whipping through there at 30 miles an hour, to avoid the light or pick up their kid real quick and get out of there. There's things like that I think need to be addressed before we let occupants go back in the building. And
Could you put-
when we get to a point that you have occupants in the building, and this is the other stuff that I think that, powers that be are gonna have to determine, again, with the what and the why and what's going on in there, is, who's scheduling it, security's a big main concern. What happens if there's, a damage to the floor, scuff marks and things like that, or
How
somebody.
does the
there-
Mayflower Grange work? Cause that's the same thing.
The-
How does the Mayflower Grange work? Because this is the exact
Has-
some thing
Has
you're
nothing to
asking.
do with the town, though.
No,
No,
the
and-
Grange
and-
doesn't.
no, I thought the
They
Grange was
never
under,
did, never
No.
did, no.
But the
God
senior,
bless
senior
them.
center would be a better call.
yeah, but the senior center is part of the town.
Well,
Yeah,
so-
the
right.
Grange, the Grange is private still,
Correct.
like it's,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't even have a
we're
key to that
thinking
building.
about it, yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's like
the heat and the air conditioning, things of that
Well,
nature.
then
So
we
it's-
should, do we do
it's
the
good.
same thing we're doing for the
Yeah,
Grange? We
yeah.
put somebody back in charge.
When we rented
Yeah,
the
I think
building,
so too.
we required a security deposit.
Mhm.
And the contract that we had with the renters started to take on a significant bulk to it because of the urgent need, as Dave said, for, to make sure that they didn't destroy anything or do anything that we wanted everything back to normal, whatever that might be. Now, normal in today's world is, as Dan said, it's in pretty tough shape, but collectively speaking, once the floor was fixed, in theory, we could use the building in one form or another. And we rented that building, and the question was, do we give them money back on their security deposit? And knowing that in mind, most of the renters were very careful.
I mean, I'm not trying to say that there's a real huge lift here, but there are gonna be operational challenges for that building. I mean, if it's gonna be your own facility, there's snow removal, that means walkway's gotta be de-iced, that means if somebody plugs a
If it's under
toilet,
the town.
if somebody's gonna plug a toilet, we gotta get over there and take care of that.
You don't
It happens in this
you
building.
don't plow the
it-
senior center, right? That's
yes.
all, you do plow the
Yes.
senior center.
I oversee it, yeah, yep, all the plowing, the sidewalks, the ramps.
Then what's the difference?
We had
So, yeah, well, we have to take that on, that's my point. It's more
It's
work
elaborate.
that someone's gonna have to do, that we're gonna have to,
So
you know, have
that
resources
is-
for.
Part of the discussion, but I guess to answer your question, and I wanna pull it back. I wanna quote, I wanna hear what is our direction to make sure we get a quote from all of these people that are gonna come in. What are we looking for?
I think first steps, we've got.
I could say something.
Okay,
Okay. All of this, what Dave just mentioned, about maintaining the building and the health and safety of the people that are coming in and the liability, we do have to take that into consideration, okay? Getting back to the building itself, okay? We're talking about the ground floor, the hall, and we need to, at this point, concentrate on that, okay? What is necessary and reasonable to get this building open safely and so it can be used, just the ground floor, okay? Now, we need some experts to come in, hazmat, electrical, plumbing, fire.
I would think,
Protection.
I would think whoever we hire is going to be a general contractor,
Yeah,
correct? And that will be part of their,
They'll cover all that.
yes. Okay,
Has that been decided?
I believe that was the direction we've been moving all along. was
Well, we,
Yeah.
that we
we've,
weren't gonna just piecemeal it.
No.
The town was going to hire a general contractor.
Correct.
And their responsibility was to go out and get all the RFPs and do all of that work for us.
Yeah, and there is one added to that too, you probably also, in
Or
a project
GSM
like
or
this,
whatever.
Yeah.
would be you'd have an OPM as well. So you have your GC that's he's gonna execute your plan and your design that you have done, which is costly, but you have the design done, and then that's the thing that all your contractors know what they're working on.
with.
But, contracts like cut corners, or in a building of this type of magnitude, they're gonna find stuff and they're gonna think, well, I can get the wire there by going over here, or whatever, and so
Well,
so it
I
almost,
would hope we hire a reputable one that doesn't go out of
No,
business this time.
well, no,
If
but,
you're gonna get a reputable one anyway, it's the reputable one needs to be briefed and to understand that it isn't just, if there's a modern substitute, you just don't throw that in. You've got to, the people that actually do the hands-on work need to be aware of the historic nature of the thing and work accordingly.
if we're gonna have a contractor, we've already had Western Sampson come in.
They're not a contractor.
they're an engineer.
They're only engineering? They're only engineering?
They're an engineering firm that can get the bid packages together, the design, set it out, and then they hire their GCs from there, yes. But, so then what you do then is the town, usually you'll have an OPM, which is the owner's project manager, that makes sure that what it is you want built, gets built and is built right.
Same,
You need to
that
have
was
a
what,
clerk of the works.
That's an
That- that's
OPM.
it, that
They
is an
call it clerk
OPM.
over,
It's clerk of the works.
and we've had a
somebody-
clerk of works for this building, for the fire departments, everything we do.
Yeah.
The schools, they always have it, there is a person that is the clerk of the works, and that is their job to make sure that
Correct.
the specs are being followed. But at this point, we don't even know anything to
Correct.
even go to a GM.
Correct.
And that's what we're looking for from Tracy or the Preservation Task Force over in Derry, whatever their name is. So the whole discussion here is to give Dave direction what we want.
Yeah.
And what we want, in my listening to everything, is we want a structural assessment, and we want phases of know how we can do this, and we want safety second. We want to know structural, and then we want safety. That's pretty simple, in my opinion,
And
right?
we need both.
Right,
Yeah.
and we just need to know how to open up the doors.
Yeah.
That's the direction I feel
Three
like
things.
we need to give you. Because if the ceiling is all tin, we're gonna have to reconsider sprinklers because I don't wanna damage it.
Or wood.
If it's all beautiful timbers and stuff, we gotta reconsider taking things out. So, I think it's real simple. I want you to get bids. I want the town, not you personally, I don't know who's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
do it, to get a bid of its structural stability. We stabilize,
Well,
we safety, and then we open it up.
yeah, so,
And we can't do fundraising, and we can't say what we're gonna we can say what we're gonna use it for and how opportunities are. But we can't do fundraising till we know the dollar figure.
so what Tracy is being hired to do though, is give you the structural analysis.
The
of
first
it.
start, yeah.
She's gonna give
exactly.
you a phase similar to what Weston Sampson has already produced, just a lot more watered down or a little,
Yeah, we'll have a look,
less
yeah.
grand. But as far as bids, she can give you, general, based on, market costs, it's similar to what Weston Sampson did. She'll give you your general ballpark, but when you say bid, just so that we'll make sure we're all
Yeah.
talking
Yeah,
about
well,
the same
not
thing.
a factual bid, because we
Yeah,
can't go out to bid.
because you really, after that and after a hazmat assessment, really your next logical step is the design. And that's when
Which she
you,
can provide us
Yeah.
too,
That's when you get
or the
quotes
other
instead
people
of an
can
estimate.
provide
so,
us,
so the
because that's what they do.
design will produce your plan set of the work that you're gonna do, that you want done. And from that plan set, that's what you go out to bid with for contractors to look at, dive into and see, and then they're gonna give you their pricing based upon the work description, the design of what it is you're doing.
Who's gonna choose the contractor?
Well, that all
The
gets,
town.
You have
that
to
all
have
gets
3
vetted
or
out
5,
and
yeah.
That's their
depends on
money,
the bid.
not ours.
Yeah,
and it depends on
Yeah.
the bid.
The town's gonna do it, not us.
But,
Yeah.
but
Well-
my point is, we need to get started, because the longer we don't get moving, the harder the sale's going to be to save it, the harder the sale is going to be to get people to remember it's a really nice building and useful. And, we have an opportunity, we have an opportunity, and we can't let this opportunity go. And I don't know how you feel, but I think even if we don't have everything 100%, we start the public's education, and we
Yes.
ask for the first round of a trust fund for it. And even if we get only 200,000 for it, we start that,
I
just
couldn't
like
agree more.
Trailways did.
I couldn't agree
And,
more.
Trailways said they're only gonna come in one time and ask us. Now they've been in, 4 times, and we built half the rail trail. So there's, we've got to start this. But I think we need a little bit of solid information. And the Weston Sampson is another good piece, but we need, Tracy's doing other buildings. The other people are doing other historic buildings. With their perspective, they're gonna have an idea that, they're gonna have a better idea, because I think Weston Simpson's more on water and that kind of stuff from reading
No,
their
they-
water plants. They don't do a lot of historic stuff, but they do a lot of government stuff. So they're not there, but these guys do this. This is their bread and butter. This is what they do every day. So I think we'll get a closer feel of what they think the numbers are. She's already presented a plan to Franklin, if it's Franklin or Mount Vernon, I can't remember.
Mount Vernon.
That's over 5 years. That's what we're looking for.
Right. Yeah, and I agree with you, to especially to the point that, your fundraising and stuff like that, you really can't get going on that, because, again, you need to know that there's, community backing, some political will, behind this project, and that it's going to move forward, because if you take in a whole bunch of money and then the project doesn't,
right, what do we
you
do
do with the
with
money?
it? Right.
Send it all back, so you
Right.
need to, kind of have, like, to your point, maybe a trust fund sets up that maybe a certain amount of money goes in every single year, then your fundraising gets deposited into as well, and it contributes to, out years and things of that nature. Yeah, and whatnot, but yeah, I mean, again, Weston Sampson's report, the approach was, again, because we were really trying to your point, gear up and move fast, but we didn't have a whole lot of guidance or input at that point, so I was just doing the best we can to kind of get an idea, and their approach is, okay, you're gonna strip everything down to the studs, and then what do you want? And
Right.
I was only saying, well,
Which is the way most people wanna go, they
yeah,
wanna,
sure.
they wanna strip it down to the studs, and
Yeah.
it's easier to rebuild.
Yeah.
And it's a lot less
Yeah.
hassle.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the more people that go in there, the more things that we've found that makes it extremely worthwhile, our preservation of it. And to do it right. I mean, this isn't a preservation project, but we're gonna preserve everything we can.
Yes, yeah, I mean, one of the concerns I have is that we have to avoid doing or repeating what was done in 2014.
Yeah,
Where a contractor was involved that did not follow the plan, I am told.
Right.
And stripped out a load of beams because he thought he could do it better, and we've got, as a result, the sunken floor.
Right,
But-
and the scary thing though in all of this is a point I'd like to make. Would you have closed that building?
would I what?
If that floor hadn't caved in, would we be talking about all the safety stuff?
I think we'd still be in where we are because the Lions wanted to terminate the lease. So, at that point, we would still have the building. We probably wouldn't be doing anything with it, but.
Is
that
that
the case?
correct? I thought the Lions would have
The-
continued it if the
the,
floor was sound.
The reason we terminated the lease was because the floor caved. What we did to, Lions is a two-phase charity. If we have a Christmas tree sale or Old Home Day where we sell hot dogs and such, any of that money that comes in from the public has to go right back to the public. We can't take any of that money and put it
Into the building.
into the building that we happen to be in. So the only way we could survive and keep the building maintained was to rent the building at this point in time. The rentals, we were quite busy with the rentals, but they paid for the monthly expenses, the electricity and the heat and light and the
Yeah.
gas
Didn't leave anything for
and
the
all of
repair.
the insurance, liability insurance and all of that, snow plowing, landscaping, whatever it was, cut the grass, the rentals paid for all of this. All of a sudden, we've got a bill for $100,000 that says,
Right.
you need to repair the floor. Wait a minute, we can't do that, we don't have the money. And
Yeah.
the concept was if we stayed in the hall, which we could have done, and somehow found a way to try and fix the floor, we would not have access to that money. It's a Lions bylaw that we just can't do that. Anything that comes in from the public has to go right back to the public, and most of it right here in Londonderry.
So I guess my question is, so you were making enough monthly to support that small part of it, but you weren't able to get to the
Electric
rear?
and things.
Support the running costs,
Right,
right.
basically.
So so that tells me there's an active use for the building. So that's my direction to you, is there is really an active use for the building.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
We just gotta find out the phases and how we can do it, and the quickest way we can get it open.
Yeah. But it will be done differently, whereas the town is now managing it, and that's
Right.
why, I mean, I have to look at I have to be cognizant of the fact that there's gonna be operational challenges with the town taking over the management and the operation of that building. You know, there's probably things that we're gonna need to have in there.
Well,
that,
then we
you know,
need the town's
like,
phases, then.
Yeah, like, you know, there's
You-
probably.
A separate report from the town.
Probably
as
need
to what you're gonna
cameras
need.
in there, you know, there's probably gonna need to be a different type of, you know, automation to the locks rather than just a key when we're handing out all over the place.
And
And
that,
things of
that's,
that nature to
then,
kinda
then
ease the
I
operation.
think that's part of what needs to be presented to
Yeah.
us too.
Yeah.
With your taking over the
Yeah.
building, I need phases, well, we all need phases of
Yeah.
what's number one that you could get the building open? Is it locks and cameras? Is it this, is it this, is it this?
Yeah, there hasn't really been any discussions about those things, they're my concerns that I know will come about.
Sure.
But I
we
think
haven't
we
had
need
those,
to-
we haven't had
I
anything
think we
in depth
need to
because
do
we
everything
didn't know
and
what's going on with the building.
hit everything at the first ask.
Yeah.
Because the first ask is gonna be the big ask. And if we have all the information going forward, and I can honestly say to the public, we're gonna do this over 5 years and we need 250,000.
In a trust.
And we're gonna put it in a trust and we're gonna do it over phases and we have the phases completely lined out, then it's an easier sell.
Yeah.
The problem is, I need it by the end of November to get it started, and that's not gonna
That's
happen.
not gonna happen.
So I need enough for this committee to honestly go to the council and ask them to start the trust and maybe start with a number of 250,000. And if we move along that direction and we feel that that's the direction we can go, and I think getting the reports from Tracy and what's the name of the wood people over?
Timber?
Preservation.
Whatever they are.
Yeah.
You know, just a
Timber
couple
frame,
bids,
pre-
whatever,
yeah,
whatever,
preservation.
because this is
Preservation,
all
yeah.
under, this is
No,
all
timber
under,
frame.
Kirsten's hand, Kirsten's hands, and her decision, because she's running this. She took that on, and this is, I know she's a very busy woman, and God help her, but, she took it on at a time before, but she
Yeah,
got
yeah.
dumped on with more stuff. But if she can get us that information and at least get us started, so we have something to say in front of the council, it makes sense. Because once we know that little bit of information, in my opinion,
I love that.
this is gonna be easy.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Good idea. I like
Kathy,
that.
that's so
I like
nice.
that.
So can I ask, because I think we're
That's
all
beautiful.
pretty much on the same page and tracking with the concept
so
of
nice.
like you know, a trust and everything.
Love that.
Um,
That's really nice.
But Kathy, you made a good point before about, you know, like don't do a bait and switch with the town, right? Like, well, we're only gonna ask once,
Right,
trailers,
we got,
and then keep coming
coming
back
back
for
in,
more.
right, so we're
So
gonna
can I
have to be honest.
clarify, can I clarify when we're talking about like throwing a number out like $250,000? Are we talking about that every year, $250,000, or are we talking about $250,000 once? Because that's not going to go
Well,
very
that's
far.
why I'm hoping if we
Right?
can, I can hope,
But
that's
then
why
we
I'm
can add into
hoping
it.
that
Well,
we
but
get this.
I think we need to be honest with the town.
Right, and
because
I agree
if we're
with you
saying we're going to ask for
100%.
250, but we
Because
are
they'll
going to
get
come
it
back and ask for
right.
more later
They'll be
because.
mad at us if we
Well,
don't,
yeah.
Let me,
and that's why I'm hoping we can get just,
well,
I mean-
let me lay out
That
kind
can
of,
start
the way that I
fundraising.
think this needs to go in order to get you to that deadline for November, but, and that again, depends upon how quickly Tracy can execute,
The
her,
next steps.
yeah, the next step, because, I mean, it's been 2 weeks since we met with her, we don't even have a proposal yet, so,
Right.
and the work, and then, the field work that needs to be done, and then, you know, encapsulated into a report, that's a heavy lift to get done by November 2nd.
well, that,
but-
not November 2nd, it will be the week of, the last week in November when the Saturday meeting is
Yeah.
held and you guys go in and do your budgets.
Yeah, that's the
So we
beginning of November.
probably have about December time frame, because being on the town council and knowing how the budget works here, I know the game. So people will, and if worse comes to worse, we come in as a citizen petition and we don't have to
Yeah,
do
the
that
warrant
till
article,
January.
You have more time, yeah.
Right.
It all depends on, again, it depends
Usually
on,
like the end of January.
January. and
it depends on what the
Yeah.
political will, like if the council wants to know what that number is because they want to incorporate it in the budget,
Right.
then that's, early November. If we're gonna do a warrant article for that, then yeah, you
I
have time.
think we could get the council in their attitude that I saw in here, that they could give us a placeholder.
Yeah.
And we would come in with verifying information, and that's what we need.
Yep.
But we also need the information to say, okay, Weston and Simpson came in at 1.3. Maybe she's saying we're coming in at 1. Maybe the other people are coming in at 1.1. We know then, we're probably looking at about a 1.2 ask. So we wanna say, we're gonna do this over 5 years. We've got structural and we got a general contractor, and they're willing to give us a plan for 5 years, and we put $250 at it, and I'm just using make-up numbers here, okay? And the first $250 gets the building open,
Well,
and then it pays for the first
Then
$250
money's
gets the,
coming in.
right, and money's starting to come in, fundraising's going on. We find people that wanna donate, that are
Grants.
reputable companies that do electrical work for us. We go out, like you said, to companies like New Balance and Tesla and ask for people to do that. People know we have skin in the game. They're gonna be much more optimistic about donating
Jumping
or letting it come out. We do have something called an undesignated fund balance that's been used for a hell of a lot of things. And we could ask for some money out of that to offset the first payment. So there's a lot of ways to skin a cat here. But
Yeah.
we gotta have some numbers.
Well, and I understand what you're saying. You know, this first allocation to do this, work with Tracy, I would assume will be an, expendable maintenance trust fund allocation.
Now, don't we have ARPA money still?
No.
It's all gone?
Yeah.
What'd it go to? Oh, that's a,
Yeah.
it's a-
It's all my pay grade, but I know that it's not. But no, that's, I'm not hiding, it was a part of the last, town council meeting too, so. But at any rate, you know, we're probably looking somewhere around, you know, $15,000 to $20,000 for her to do this next step.
But
Which-
she
which
also said
the
she
town
could get
council
some
and-
of it back for us.
Yeah,
Potentially, yeah.
But the town council and Mike kind of indicated that that was a reasonable amount
I
anyway.
agree.
like,
Right,
Yeah.
yeah,
At the
I
meeting,
think,
they
I
set up-
think we
yeah,
have to
they set
up
up
to
the 30.
30,000,
They did, they
so.
approved
Yeah,
the
so-
30, you're still gonna have to go in front of them anyway, but.
Yeah, but I don't think we.
But my
need to
point
worry
is,
about that.
Yeah.
you know, that first 250, if that's, again, we're using arbitrary numbers.
Right, we don't have, just
So,
easy numbers for
you know,
that.
if that comes in, that really is gonna be, it's gonna do one of two things. Especially if it's a warrant article, it's gonna tell you, if it's massively approved, 73-75%, good. Now you know that
You have the
we're on the
energy.
right track.
If it's a warrant
and-
article, if
and,
it's 51%
you know,
is all we
yeah,
need.
Right,
No,
but you know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
because
to show the
indicate
energy.
that.
because that money is really gonna be, a lot of that money is gonna be your planning money. And I know that $250,000 sounds like a lot of money, and you'll say, well, let's just go start working on electrical. You can't really do that,
Right.
because, again, I'll be bringing before you, like I've already done last year around this time frame, where I just brought in contractors and had them meet me over there, local contractors, and say, you know, give me a
What
price to
can you do?
rewire the building. Well, what am I doing? You know, well, just
That's
basic.
why we need the
So you need a design,
GC
you
and
need a
the
design, and
and
so
the
that
GC.
$250,000 is really gonna be the money that you're gonna use to get a design, get your bid package together, put it out into the bid world, see what comes back, do your analysis and everything else, so that you know what you're working on, and all your phases can be laid out on that, and then you really get those numbers that you're really after. You'll have that for your out years, for years 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you'll know you've already got the buy-in of the community, because they gave you the $250 to get started. And you're starting to fundraise and all that stuff. So all that stuff's piling on, and signs like that are going all around town. It becomes more popular, and your message is getting out more and more and more. But so to your point, you know, really it's the big number that you want to know, because you don't want to be in front of the town every year saying, we need another 100 million. I mean, another million. We need another 100 million. We need another 50,000. We need another, you know, because then people are like, when is this going to end? And so that's why, you know, getting the what's and the what, because, you know, when they're trying to give you those, and we'll call them guesstimates for lack of a better term, it boils down to a lot of, what are you gonna be doing in there? Like, oh, well, we didn't know you wanted IT lines, we didn't know you were gonna have a computer over there, maybe there's gonna be a town
Yeah,
office
but
in
if we're
there.
opening,
We didn't know you wanted cameras.
I don't think
didn't
we
know
need, I think, I understand what you're saying, we
You know.
want the details.
So when the walls
But-
are
well,
open,
but-
that'll all be in the design phase though.
Right, and God only knows where we're gonna be 10 years from now, there might not ever be another wire again for the internet, you know what I'm saying? So, and we won't even have computers, cause everybody will be on their phone, you know?
But I mean, it comes down to other things, like,
Yeah.
you know, so the hall, let's take the hall, for example, today I was at the New Hampshire Public Works Association meeting, and we were up at Derryfield in their, I don't know if anybody's been in their banquet hall. But, you know, there's different lighting, there's the PA system, so that the guy had to use the microphone so we could all hear better. You know, they had, you know, a projection screen similar to this, but they had some older technology that was in the wall to run it, so it was a little bit of a trip up. So those are the considerations that we'll have to have in the design process part of it, but you kind of want to start thinking about that stuff, because, so if you're having a wedding there, you know, and you're gonna wanna have a DJ, right? Well, so you wanna make sure you get the right amount of power in a place, or do you wanna have speakers in the ceilings, or do you want, there's a lot of those things, and I know a lot of those answers may be no, but we need to think about it, so that when
Well,
the walls are
I
open,
would-
things are being put in
I
there
would,
that,
I would like to see
Yeah.
it get outfitted, I
Yeah.
mean, this is for, and that's a phase.
yes.
This is
exactly,
absolutely a
exactly.
phase. So if we're opening the ceiling at that time, and we get in that somebody says I can put speakers, microphones, and wiring so that you can have virtual
Right.
Zoom meetings here
Right.
and use this as an event space, well, then that gives us more money because it opens up. So I mean, that's the key. The thing that we didn't really get from the report we got
Yeah.
from Sam, we need the phases.
Yeah,
And we need the phase, and the
Correct.
designer's gonna give us after we get the fact that the thing is structurally sound and we wanna move forward.
Yes.
That's the key. But the designer's gonna design it, and once and maybe 5 years from now, the whole back end gets ripped off and it's a beautiful building and,
Why
you know, we
wait,
get
let's
it.
do it now.
Well, we don't have the money, no. But I'm saying, that's what we need, because if I can go in front of if all of us can go in front of the town and say, look, we're fundraising, I don't think we can be as successful as I was when I used to do warm homes, because we don't have as many kids in the school district, but we raised, every child brought $1 in every year, and that fund stayed at $25,000 the whole time it was in use, and we were able to give fuel and assistance to over 100 families. If we have that kind of excitement in our fundraising, you're gonna see the Rotary picture, and you will see businesses,
Yeah.
like you said, that would want naming rights and things like that. But we can't move forward until we find out if it's structurally sound and we get a design. And we didn't get we got a semi-design,
Well,
but,
we had conceptual, so we
We
weren't working
right.
in the design world yet.
right, so.
And we weren't in the phases, that was our next thing, but.
And
we
I
didn't.
would really like to have for budget season, let's say Tracy says it's 100,000, I'm just using numbers.
Arbitrary.
Or the people over in Derry, or whoever they are, that you guys choose, says we need $100,000 to come back with your phases, your design, and to hire a general contractor, or whatever.
You're
We don't
on
even
point.
have to go on that.
Weston Sampson's estimate was 216,000, so your 250 is on point. For, again, where I left off, to go through everything we've been talking about this evening, which was the structural, and then it's all broken down. I gave it to you in the email, in that packet I gave to the last time I was at one of these meetings. So it was 16.5 to start the structural analysis and do the hazmat. And then there was the phasing and design phase and all that stuff, and it's all broken out. You guys have it.
Yeah.
Just take a look at it, and you see the bottom line is 260. I think it was 216.9 if my memory serves me right.
It's probably
So-
a little more now.
So and it's probably a little more now. So your
20-30%
$250,000 is going to get you to that point that you then have all those exact numbers that you need, because you're gonna have your bid packet, you're gonna put it out, you're gonna start getting in real numbers in current day, not engineers' guesstimates, not, okay, $27, it's
I gotta
real
close that
numbers,
pretty soon.
so.
So that's what we have now.
And I think just to clarify.
We have estimates, not,
They have, Weston Sampson has gotten estimates from contractors?
They
Are those figures?
The figures that they come up with in their report are from just industry-known rates of what's going on here and there and everything. And
So-
based upon square footage, how many outlets in a commercial building, blah, 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 blah.
I just want to clarify,
That's how they arrive at those numbers.
based on what Dave's saying here, just so, that we're all on the same page and that we're being honest when we go to the community, that like that 250,000 that we're talking about right now isn't going to get us in the building.
No.
No, that's
And
The information.
Right, so
And
we get
it's
just-
right, that's
yeah.
just, and that is the sale. We're trying to get us back in the building. It's our job to sell why. And, personally, I really think we have enough support on the council that I would, if it's $250 to get us started to get in the building, I'll ask for $350. And ask for $100 from the taxpayers and $250 from the council.
But
And
don't
tell
you
them this
think-
is a 5-year plan,
Trust.
because I am putting it right here in front of you. So we are going to come back and ask anytime we have a shortfall with fundraising.
Yeah,
And-
because I think, and I hear you, I just think that the council would want to know, and I would think the community would want to know, okay, but what is it going to take to get us in the building?
Right,
Because
and
you can
that's,
say you're going to fundraise, but, if you can't,
Right.
you're going to come back to us and ask for it, right? And so,
that's what we need.
so it's,
That's
it's one thing to
what
say
we do.
250, 350, for the initial ask, but then to say, and here's the gap,
Well,
and we've got,
Tracy
different
was
ways
pretty
to.
clear to us when she came out. She said that she did the Mount Vernon. It's going to be 1.3 for them to do everything. Their town hall is a little bit closer to ours. I think they were going further because of ledge and stuff like that. They had issues
Yeah.
and,
It
and
was
stuff
single
like,
floor, too,
right,
so-
a single floor, and she had to get absolutely had to get an elevator in it, which is something we can look at
Yeah,
100
I know.
years down the road, you know what I'm saying? So she had some more restrictions that our building doesn't have. She said she came up, I think, with 1.3 to do the whole thing at one time.
Yeah, they had to
She
raise
said-
that building too and put the concrete,
Right,
because their
right.
foundation wasn't back.
That's right. So she came up with 1.3. She said, there's no way you're gonna get a 1.3 from the Preservation Historic Society. They're only gonna give you maybe, if you're lucky, 20,000 a year. So she goes, for 5 years, they have to come up with the plan, how they're gonna, she came up with the plan for them to sell, how to come up to save the place over a 5-year period. I got the feeling from her, we're a little bit different than them. The building is able to get into. It's just might take us 2 years to get there. But we can get in there and then start generating money. But we've gotta know
Yeah.
that plan from whoever we hire. I don't care who you guys hire.
No.
Whoever's the best for the job and gives us the right price. I just want, if we're gonna go in front of the town council to ask for money, I just want a game plan that's solid enough that I don't look like an idiot, that this committee does not look like an idiot 3 years down the road when we say, oh, we didn't know that, nobody told us that, we don't have anything, we're just guessing, we want $250,000 a year for the next 5 years and it costs us $5 million, you know? I just want some,
I understand your stress on that all too well, because I lived it. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I was walking down that path of getting to that point and getting to those numbers, but I think, and I don't wanna speak for people, but I think that the general consensus was, we get a little bit of cold feet, like,
of course.
is this really, do we really wanna go here, do we wanna do this?
And God only knows what kind of
And
council
I
we're
was
gonna have
grateful
in
at that
March.
point that this committee was formed, because I really do think we needed to have this level of community buy-in and understanding, to make sure that before, people are voting on things and whatnot, that it is a true, need of the town, and not just something that we wanna do because it's a nice to do thing, and,
I mean, we don't even know what kind of council we're gonna face in March. We could have the meanest council in the world, you don't know. Or we could have the nicest one and they give us $1 million, you never know. It's all on who gets voted in.
yeah.
So we are gonna have to live by the sword or in that area too. But, I thank you for the, and is there any more questions, or can we let Dave go? Cause it's after 7.
Dave, thank you, this was
Yeah, you're welcome.
extremely helpful.
You're welcome, and thank you all for your work and your help. It truly is appreciated. I've watched all your meetings and listened and hear your concerns, and I continue to engage with people that approach me about the project, and I think it's gonna be an exciting and phenomenal thing if we can get this done, because I really, it's a shining star down there in the common,
It
and
is,
I
it
just
really
couldn't
is.
imagine
It
that
not
building
being there.
I really couldn't, and I really think in the largest of spirits for the town, the way that it's been used for, the last 50 years, and at least in recent history, I know that it's been used in many other venues for hundreds of years, but, it's solemn ground. It's been used for birthdays and weddings, and I think all those things could still could come rushing back even better, stronger, bigger, more vibrant than ever before. And I think that's what makes the town special, and I think that building has a lot to do with it.
And
Yeah.
I would like to charge you
Yeah.
with one more thing. Knowing that this is gonna be time, can you get us a gutter price?
For gutters?
Yeah,
Oh,
Cause
yeah.
she did say
So that
that was
would
the
help.
simplest, you're right,
and
yeah.
can you also get us a price of what it would be to, make the pavilion used? Because even if we're not in the building in the summer months, the pavilion could be used
So,
for events and.
I know
other
that's already in the works.
Okay.
Doug Cole has some great ideas, and next summer he wants to
Oh, for crafts
to do
and-
that
oh,
for,
nice.
yeah, there's
I
gonna be
mean,
some
cause
things.
concerts
and-
on the
and-
common,
and-
we could work with
and-
them and bring food trucks in
But
there
and birthday parties
and
and things like
yeah,
that,
that's
and
true
start
too.
generating,
Yeah.
some revenue to show that we're serious about
correct.
it being
And show that,
self-supportive.
wow, the
That's
public does
yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is, it's a beautiful place for a birthday party,
Yeah,
and,
it's
not
true.
everybody has a backyard, there's a
Yeah.
lot of, places in
That's
town that
with the
people
nice picnic tables.
can use it for
yeah.
and whatnot, and so I know they're already exploring those ideas. A gutter, yeah, I can get a price on gutters, it's not a big deal, just, again, gutters can be your best friend, it can also
Also
be
be
a
your
big
worst, I
knife.
know. I mean, I don't know.
So
I-
can you
Get up that high,
Yeah, I don't
you
know,
wanna have them
right,
squeeze
I don't
on
know
you.
what the
Yeah.
cost is, it would be interesting
Yeah.
if it's, a couple grand.
Yeah.
I don't think it will be, it'll probably be in the, I would think probably 10, because of where.
No, you're
You
not
think
talking
it
huge.
5?
Yeah, probably.
And if
Yeah.
it stops,
Maybe a
if it's, gives us a couple more years
Yeah.
to pull the water out of the building and draining it the correct
Yeah.
way, then,
Yeah, and I mean, there's other things, concern, and again, this will all come out in a design phase too, but like I was talking about, the cars whipping through, there's some site stuff that needs to be addressed, obviously, handicap accessibility, parking's gonna need to be addressed, so there's gonna be some site work that has to take place there. The septic system, I have a lot of concerns about, so that's another big cost that needs to be addressed. We should, again, living by the sword, die by the sword, we should consider, some stormwater management on that property. You see Chase Bank over there, they're brand new, they're putting in a, treatment swale, we don't have anything like that on that property, so again, we should kind of live by our own rules and standards too, and it would benefit the property and protect that structure even more.
well, I think if
So-
we're gonna put
so,
that kind of money into it, we
but
wanna.
that could be a phase.
But we could
down the
phase
line.
that,
Oh, yeah, absolutely, but we just wanna make sure we identify everything, so that, again, when we start phase 1, we know that all those other little concerns, whether we run the wires now for cameras down the line, because we had to open up the walls to replace the electrical wiring for the life safety stuff, that life safety stuff's all gonna be in phase 1. So that's gonna be where a lot of your stuff is, your fire, your electrical, whatever, all that stuff's gonna be in phase 1.
And that was,
That's to get in the building so that we know it's safe. We're going
and
in,
that
it's
was the
safe.
goal of the committee.
Yeah.
Was to do every phase,
Yeah.
that it was beneficial to the next
Next one,
phase, so
correct.
we didn't have to redo
Right.
what we did
Yeah,
in the
correct.
first phase.
So we just wanna make sure we have all those identified, so that we know that as we work through our phases, okay, hey, it's time to do, the security phase of, it's getting old, passing around keys, it's cumbersome, we're concerned about who's in the building, when they're in the building, timers, lighting, things like that. all the wires are already in the wall, and we're at that phase, okay, now we're gonna start connecting up all the
I
things,
mean,
they're already in there.
Phase, we're gonna have to probably get emergency generator there and
Yeah,
all
I
that
mean,
other
so,
stuff.
so that's excellent, so, you know, I know you guys touched base on, and I think it's an excellent idea, being a warming center or a cooling center. So when we're wiring the building, you know, maybe we're not gonna buy the well, and the beauty of that lot is we have natural gas, so we can have a very nice natural gas, generator
Which
that
is
powers
cheaper,
that whole
thank
entire
God.
facility. So whether
And that's
for-
gonna be a phase, is how we pump
Correct.
into, tapping into the natural gas going across.
Yeah.
Or even the sewer down the road, you know what I mean? All of it.
so,
The
Cause
building,
what does the water, I can't, I mean, I know,
water's right there.
The water
Sewer's
is not, right.
You'll have to do a
isn't this,
septic.
the sewer's way out?
Over by the schools, yeah,
Oh, okay.
that would be 10
Okay,
times
that's
the cost of
the
this
bill,
project,
right.
so.
Okay.
But the water is something that I think would be important, because it's right there. I mean, to not run water to that building, it
So,
would not be a.
and at the same time of opening up the water would make sense to do the natural gas, because we could bring it. So that's what I'm saying, we gotta get all of this in phases, and if it makes sense, people will be more supportive, because we're being cognitive and
Doing
not,
our
and
due
doing our
diligence.
due diligence, that's the word I was looking for. Of
gas,
doing it.
gas is already headed to that
It's,
building.
it's already in it.
It's already in it.
Natural gas is in the building.
Okay, so that, so that's
all we
good.
have to do is come
It's
off of
kinda funny,
that.
we have natural gas, but no water, no sewer.
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah, but you know what?
It's the last thing that.
Then that's
Right.
kind of funny,
But-
because if we get the natural gas, then our HV systems,
yes.
it could become much more doable,
Oh, absolutely.
because natural gas is so much cheaper.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there's, and they're so advanced and stuff, so I think we've got a plan, we just need those numbers from,
Yep.
to get it
Yeah,
started.
understood. Yeah,
We've had gas in there for over 10 years.
I was under the impression that we were gonna have that thing tonight.
I did, well, I was
And
too, I was
that's,
hoping,
Can I ask a question
was
to
the
Dave
alternative.
before he goes?
yep,
In regards to, the lady
What time is
from
it?
Portsmouth
7:21.
that is supposed to get back with the report,
Tracy.
push
do
everything.
you know
up
when
till
Tracy
our
is gonna
next
get the
meeting in 2
report
weeks.
back?
That's what do we talk about,
So
fundraising and grants, this was more.
She's getting us a quote
Exactly.
to do her work by midweek next week.
Okay, and then she is going to come back
So then,
to do
at that point.
further
I'll-
investigation to give
Correct.
cost.
Correct.
And you will
Well,
have the
no.
bids in your, I guess the question is, you believe you will have her cost to get us started by the end of next week? I'm using the end of next week to be safe.
If we have our meeting next week, will you,
That's why I'm thinking of pushing it
Are
off.
you giving
No.
us,
No, so to be clear, next week, we'll say midweek, so next Wednesday, she's gonna have her proposal to us on, it's gonna cost X amount of dollars for me to go there and tear the floor.
Find out what
Do we
it'll
want
cost.
a
To look
meeting
at
or
things.
wait till?
Just to
So
look
then
at.
I will need to go in front of the council to ask for that allocation to be appropriated to start that work.
So
Then I
I-
need to get on her schedule
What's their schedule?
to do that work.
They will
Yeah.
be
And
there
then,
this
after
Monday,
she does that work,
following 2 weeks,
She then
so
has
that
to
would be
put that all into a report to
first
get
week
back
of
to you, so
November,
it's
second?
going to be some time.
So they're meeting.
Yeah.
In regards to
Yes.
opening up the
So-
floor, so she or whoever she's gonna have look at it, is
That'll
that
be-
something
It
that
would be the 11th?
That's 2 weeks.
the
from next
DPW could do?
I already made that commitment,
Next
that I would
Monday,
work with them to
21st.
get this going as quickly as possible.
Because, I mean,
And
The
civil.
4th,
because
okay.
in reality, the whole floor is gonna come up.
Yeah, no, I made that commitment at the previous meeting I was here, that we would work with them, on whoever we use to do this analysis. If they need laborers there to cut holes in floors or pull, I don't need her to worry about all that. We wanna keep the cost low, and we can, to a degree, I mean, to what we're capable of. You know, if she has a spectrometer or something, I don't know, I'm making that up, I don't know, but there's.
You even know what that
There's
is?
things that they're gonna bring that.
That was
that-
Shazam's
Yeah.
weapon.
But
of
demolition,
choice.
we're good at that, we can do that,
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
That's
then
fine.
I think I'm gonna release Dave,
alright?
and,
Thank you.
we're gonna,
Thank
thank you,
you.
David.
Thank you, Dave.
And
You're welcome, thank you.
I,
Did you see this, Dave?
Dave, I'm gonna keep going with the meeting,
Yeah.
because it is getting late. I
Yes, I
would
have
like
all
to
those.
get him, here, if everybody is agreeable to this, since we're at a point of, we're still waiting, I'd like to approve the minutes and then push everything on our, and new business on our agenda to the following meeting, because we'll have information.
Yep, perfect.
All we were gonna talk about was fundraising and grants. So I think that can get moved
Yep.
to another meeting,
Yep.
if everybody's in agreement.
That's fine.
I agree.
Okay.
What day did you say were
Then,
the next meeting?
so, the next meeting should be, I think we should really push off this. I'm afraid that, granted, it's supposed to be here Wednesday, but we know how things work. So I don't wanna have a meeting of all of us show up here, and, we don't have any information, we're just sitting here for no reason at all. So let's push it off for 2 weeks, which is the
The
30th.
31st.
Oh, Halloween, we
That
can't do.
won't be good.
Good, do we wanna do it that week, but on a different day?
I can't, but
All
Well,
right.
You could do it next week and do the stuff that, the
Oh.
fundraising stuff that Ray's
I think we need a week.
got.
but we won't know numbers.
And we won't know
Yeah,
anything.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this, let's push it off.
Then we
See, I
have the
really wanted to
election.
get in front of the council on the 4th, which is the following week.
So why don't you do that Wednesday, if you wanted the 30th?
Well, you said you
I
couldn't.
can't,
Sorry,
but
you
you don't,
can't,
don't do
yeah.
it based on me.
What about,
And then we jump
I mean,
into
I wanna be here, but-
election week, I'm done.
right, you can't do that
Yeah.
week. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
saying, maybe we,
Cause Dave can't even go to the council to ask for the, let's say, $20,000.
$1,000 till he
Until
gets
the
for
4th.
it, right.
And so I think it would be helpful to have a meeting before that to say, is there anything else that we wanna ask
Maybe
of the
we'll have
council
something
at that
to
meeting? Cause
know.
otherwise then you're waiting until
Yeah,
20, whatever,
yeah.
I'm doing bad math, the 18th of November is gonna be the next town council
If
meeting.
you can't get to that meeting, because it's a Thursday, can you email your thoughts to Kathy?
Well,
Or,
it's Halloween, so
could go-
I wanna go with my grandkids trick
Yeah,
or
I
treating.
know.
Okay.
But I can do the Wednesday before
that's
that.
that's what
You
I'm
wanna do
saying,
the
he
Wednesday,
can't make
sure.
that Wednesday, that's what you.
Oh, I would be
Tell me.
happy to, but it would, I'd have to actually have the information.
Yeah, yeah.
That's theoretically, we wouldn't even be seeing anything
So-
from Tracy until
What's
that
the-
meeting.
What's the
right?
point if you don't have the information?
Yeah, I don't know what to even,
Well, maybe,
but don't do it based on me.
let's do this, let's
We
schedule.
can't all make every
let's
meeting.
do this, let's
Try-
schedule
try
the
to be
meeting for
helpful.
the 30th.
And it may be changed if the,
Right, and if we have to
Chairperson.
cancel it, we
Yeah.
have to cancel it, but let's schedule the
10:30.
at
meeting.
least we'll have
Right,
six.
for October 30th, it's a
At
Wednesday
6.
versus a Thursday at 6 o'clock in this room.
Which is Halloween.
I can't be.
Halloween's
it's
the
Oh, you
31st.
Dave
No, I
can't
can't
make
do
that.
Wednesdays.
You can't do Wednesdays?
Do you wanna do Tuesday that
Okay,
week?
what about Tuesday of
I'm
that week?
gone the whole week until Thursday.
Good.
So I'm around for Thanksgiving, for Halloween rather than.
Wanna
I
do
could try it,
Tuesday?
I don't know. Thursdays is really about the only time I can do it.
We have to have.
Go ahead without me.
Yeah, but I don't know if I'll have a quorum. That's what I'm worried
Because
about.
Derek's not here, we don't know his schedule.
Do you wanna, should we hold off until we see if we get something from Tracy midweek, next week?
Yeah,
And
but we
then
can't have a
schedule.
meeting in a day because we have to post it.
Well, we could plan to meet next week and then postpone it if we don't get anything from her.
I guess that's the route we're gonna have to go. Make it
Because
next
if we do get
Wednesday.
something, then
I mean,
that'd be
next
great.
Thursday.
The
And if we got
24th.
something, it's a start. If we don't,
I'm not available, unfortunately, we're doing the candidates for the Londonderry View, so I'm scheduled, the 23rd and the 24th. I'm straight out, we'll be there till like 8.
Well,
But you could still
would
have
you-
it. Yeah, you could still have it. Yeah.
what's
I
it
mean,
feel?
Does it work? Yeah, Thursday works for you, right? 24th?
Thursdays work
Week
for me.
from tonight, yeah.
Yeah.
What's the
All
date?
right, let's schedule a
24th.
meeting for the
24th?
34th, the
The 34th of
The
No, hang on.
24th,
Yeah, but just know I can't
When
be here.
is the next
Council
Heritage
meeting.
Historic District Commission meeting? Because I have to attend that.
I don't know.
Can look up,
That's,
Look
I
at the
think, the
calendar.
fourth Thursday, is it, of the month?
which would be the
I think you might be
24th.
right.
I'm
I
looking-
told them I'd show up because they want to discuss something that I had sent to.
The only meeting on that
Mike.
day is the master plan steering committee meeting.
That's on the
That's
calendar.
on the calendar right now.
Yeah.
right?
What day is that?
The
24th
24th is
that
a
you were talking
Thursday
about.
next week.
Did you bring packets for everyone?
That wouldn't be the last Thursday, the
No.
last Thursday.
No,
of the
there's
month.
a fourth
But
Thursday
I
of the
wondered,
month.
did you
That
make
would
a
be-
copy?
It's
I already
That was
committed
that
that I
you
would
did? That
attend
was
that
so
No,
meeting.
that, no, I've got
They
it.
wanted to
You did a
interrogate me
great
about
job
something.
on
I
that.
think-
Mind if I look at
Oh,
it again?
take it,
Thank you.
take it.
You sure? I thought that was impressive.
Well, I don't do many impressive.
I may not be a
That's what.
factor
We'll
in
start
this
somewhere.
after all.
The problem is we need a quorum to have it.
Yeah, the only thing right now, next week is Beautiful Londonderry Town Council on Monday, Conservation on Tuesday, Leach Library on Wednesday, and Master Plan Steering Committee on Thursday.
Can we, well, if I'm away, can you not achieve your quorum with Ray as an alternate?
Yeah, I could put
Or do
three.
it next week
We
if you
could-
want, that's fine, I mean,
But let's put
I'm
it
just
on,
saying, I don't know
let's
when
put it
you're
on,
meeting it.
yeah, but you might not have the meeting if they haven't posted it,
It's
so.
not
you know,
on the
right, oh,
calendar.
that's a
So,
good
let's
point.
have let's have
Go
the
for next
meeting on the
Thursday.
24th.
Okay.
And if I,
That's
And if
all
we
fine.
have,
over.
if we have an issue, we
You
can
got
always
it.
cancel
They
it.
meet
Yep.
on Thursday.
And if I finish up early, I'll come, I don't, well, I might be done by 7.
If,
Oh, it's
if
be too
we
late.
get if we
Can
know
you
that
go to
the
the actual page for the
information
Heritage
comes
Historic
through, at least we'll have it.
Try, our
Yep,
website is next
exactly.
If we can't have the meeting on the 24th,
Department?
the proposal will be
HHCC,
available
Heritage
um,
Historic District.
with,
There's boards and
Kirsten.
commissions.
Yep.
No, it's boards and commissions.
which will be public for any of us to come in and ask for it, is my,
So we're deleting that.
correct? Is
Yeah.
that standard?
They
Yeah.
haven't,
That
What's the
if
agenda
it's
up
in the
yet?
hands of the
Yeah.
town, we can get
Come
that
on, here,
information
so
from her?
Yep.
So,
third,
Right there.
if we
Third or
don't
fourth.
have the
Fine, I'll
meeting
say
on the
fourth Thursday of
24th,
the month.
at least we can
so
get to
if
the
we look at the
information.
calendar now,
Then the
we're-
problem
The last one
is,
was August, so it would be.
we'll push off our
That was-
meeting
No, that was
until
canceled.
the week
Oh.
of November
They
5th,
put it off
6th,
from-
because Dave will have been able to go in
Yes.
front of the council
Do you have a
Yeah.
calendar
and present,
here?
and we'll also get the okay.
It's,
Are we tentatively saying Thursday the 24th?
We're tentatively,
you
we're
are,
saying
Ray,
the
yeah.
24th if we get the information,
Something in your
and we can
calendar
start
or the
reviewing and
Click the
do the
timer.
fundraising. And if we don't get any information,
It's the
I'm
24th.
hoping that
Okay.
publicly we can come
I
in
will
and get
attend on
the
the
proposal
24th.
and see.
yeah, they just have.
Dave's
And I
going
can't-
to
and I
the
can't make it
council on
31st
November
anyway. I
4th.
can only make the
If we
31st.
have our meeting November 6th, we know the answer from the council at that point. We
Yep,
have the
there you go.
proposal, and then we can move on to the next step.
You said November
How will
6th,
we
I'm
know
sorry,
that
David was
there's no
talking to
meeting
me.
on the 24th?
I'll cancel it.
No.
I'll call, we'll
You'll
get
let it
word
know.
to all of you and the whole general public of the town that the meeting's been postponed on the town website, just
It's-
like
it's
they
on
do
the
now.
town si- It's on the town's website.
Right, so we will be able to cancel the meeting. I'd like to just put it as a placeholder on the
Yep, I
calendar.
think so.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
All right, so the 24th and
Yep.
the 6th,
Now, you said the 6th, that's a Wednesday.
or the 7th.
The 7th.
7th?
Yeah. Which would be the Thursday after the town council
council
meeting.
right,
Yeah.
November 7th.
yeah,
Not
so
on
those,
Halloween.
right. All right,
Changing that.
so
to the
now
7th.
that we've got the meeting kind of sorted out,
Yep.
do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Yes, I'll,
Yes, the minutes were fine.
Second.
perfect. yeah.
Okay,
I
so
don't think I
David,
contacted
David made the motion to accept the minutes, and Frank seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Having not attended, I don't vote, right?
Right, you can abstain. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ayes and 1 abstention, because Doug wasn't here.
I wouldn't put up with that.
Okay, now,
They look fine to me, I just wasn't.
we're all agreeable on adjourning the meeting and moving all of the items in new business to our next
Yeah.
meeting on the 24th or on the 7th.
7th.
Yeah.